South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. CBS News Miami Investigations is digging into your rights when it comes to homeowners insurance. Specifically, what happens if your insurance company offers you a settlement you're not happy with? Well, the rules have changed if you decide you need to go to court for financial compensation. CBS News Miami's Joe Gorcho explains your rights.
It feels dirty. It feels like our home is dirty.
Morgan de la Madriz has a full house in Kendall with her husband and 2 kids.
Maya, don't go on the street. Good girl.
The smiles outside the home mask concerns inside.
We have a sunken shower, and you could see the tile separating from the floor.
In January 2021, Madriz says she was about to put her daughter to bed when she noticed something.
We had an overflow into the hallway from the bathroom. It just was like, I don't know where this is coming from.
Madriz shows us the master bathroom, one sparingly used since the initial leak 2.5 years ago. Current issues remain in both bathrooms and when flushing the toilet and using the shower.
You know, the water seeps, it doesn't drain all the way. We can only use one bathroom. We have to be really careful with what we do. We can't run multiple appliances at the same time.
Madriz tried to go through insurance to help pay for repairs. She ended up in court, suing her carrier.
It's undisputed that there was a drain line that was broken underneath their kitchen that resulted in water seeping out under their foundation, which caused damage to their foundation, to their showers, to their flooring. It created problems with backups in their toilets and sewer flies.
Attorney Randy Weber represents the Madriz family. Last July, a civil jury sided with the Madriz family in the insurance claims dispute, awarding them more than $200,000. The carrier argued its inspection did not reveal actual property damages caused by the water overflow. Therefore, coverage did not apply. The carrier filed an appeal. Since the case is still in court, Madriz has not received a dime following the initial jury verdict. Weber believes a substantial change to state law will discourage families like Madriz from taking their claims against insurers to court.
It's unfair to the customer. It denies access to court. It puts burden on the homeowners.
In a special session last December, the legislature removed the right to attorney fees in residential and property insurance lawsuits, seeking what its proponents of the legislation claim was an attempt to stabilize a volatile insurance market.
We don't want the many, many thousands of cases that are really kind of garbage litigation that drive up the cost of everybody in this room and everybody that's listening.
Those were essential steps to keep the Florida property insurance industry alive, because we had seen 6 insolvencies last year.
Mark Freelander with the Insurance Information Institute believes 24 more Florida-based carriers would have dissolved without tort reform. The change made Florida the 41st state to eliminate guaranteed rights to attorney fees.
You've got a big mess on your hands when it comes to lawsuits, legal defense costs for insurers.
He tells us Florida accounts for 9% of the property insurance claims nationally, but accounts for roughly 80% of all the lawsuits against carriers. Still, even with tort reform, he explains Floridians should expect insurance premiums to remain relatively high.
Unfortunately, I have to deliver some bad news that in our determination, there is no clear path to lower rates right now.
He does see some light at the end of the tunnel. He points to 2 factors. 5 new insurance companies were approved to write residential policies, and the insurance of last resort, Citizens, moving its policyholders to private carriers.
It's going to be prohibitive for most people to find a lawyer who will take their case. It's going to lead to unbridled abuse of Florida policyholders.
Would you even be able to make it this far if you weren't guaranteed attorney fees?
No, absolutely not.
You would not have even considered suing?
We wouldn't have been able to. We would have, the only option would have been to sell the house.
Financial worries linger, with her family's case still not settled in court. Unable to find an insurance company to insure their family home, their bank put them on a forced-placed insurance. It raised their mortgage by $1,000 a month.
I don't know how many more months we have to stay here saying that, yeah, we can afford this.
Joe Gorcho, CBS News, Miami.
And right now, only on CBS News Miami, respected author and historian Marvin Dunn is just back from a trip to Gainesville, where a man convicted of trying to kill him and others because of their race was sentenced to federal prison time. The crime happened near Dunn's property in Rosewood, the site of the infamous 1923 Rosewood Massacre. CBS News Miami's Hank Tester explains the history and talked to Dr. Dunn in this exclusive conversation.
I'm trying to establish that land, my property, as a place of racial reconciliation where people can come and talk through racial problems to try to work things out on that sacred ground.
Rosewood, the 1997 film depicting the January 1923 massacre of a number of black residents of the tiny Florida town. The catalyst? A black resident was lynched as a result of claims a white woman had been assaulted by a black man. A white mob swept into Rosewood and burned the town to the ground. It is shocking history, not well known, but certainly well documented and not forgotten by retired FIU professor and author Dr. Marvin Dunn. He bought a nice piece of property in Rosewood, which upset his neighbor across the street.
I'm the only black person who has land out there in Rosewood today. So he rolls up in his truck and lets the window down and says, "What's going on out here?" And I said, "Well, sir, this is my property," and that's as far as I got. He said, "Well, if that's your property, why don't you all park on your side of the road?" I said, "Well, this is a public highway. We'll park wherever we wish." Threw him into a rage, steps on the gas, starts yelling the N-word, dropping F-bombs, goes around into his property, comes back a few minutes later at full speed and almost runs us over.
According to Marvin Dunn, the outraged driver missed killing his son Frederick Dunn by inches.
So we called the police. The Levy County police came out. They arrested him.
You see, Marvin Dunn bought the land for a purpose, to teach the history of what happened in Rosewood over 100 years ago. He brings in students and school teachers to his land to tell the story as part of his Teach the Truth tours. Weekend group tours visiting a number of Florida locations where lynchings and racial atrocities were committed.
When I got back to Miami, I called the FBI and reported this as a hate crime. And they took over on this case, and they were just wonderful. They pursued it. He was arrested, charged with 6 counts of hate crime because there's 6 black people involved. And just last week was sentenced to, and he was facing 10 years on each count.
This is 62-year-old David Allen Emanuel, his mugshot after his arrest, sentenced to 1 year and a day in federal prison.
I knew a hate crime when I saw and heard one.
After hearing a plea from Marvin Dunn advocating mercy for David Allen Emanuel, federal judge Alan Windsor said, "I don't think he's going to do something like this again, but there's a need for general deterrence, and it's clear he did it because of race." 12-member jury, all white, finds this guy guilty.
Yes.
That shock you?
America works. America works.
We reached out to David Allen Emanuel's attorney for comment. Did not hear back. Now, David Allen Emanuel must report to federal prison on January 2nd, 2024. I'm Hank Tester, CBS News, Miami.
As the conflict between Israel and Hamas intensifies, the Department of Homeland Security is warning of more anti-Semitic and Islamophobic hate attacks in this country. CBS News Miami's Jacqueline Quinn introduces us to someone trying to stop this cycle of hate.
Unity is absolutely necessary right now.
Calling for peace in the time of war is not easy, but that is what Nikki Morse is doing.
I got this at the National Education Association's annual meeting.
Morse is not afraid to hold the Palestinian flag in support of the Palestinian people, even though they are Jewish, and currently they're working with Jewish Voices for Peace.
The experiences I have organizing with Palestinians, Muslims, Arabs, and others who are in solidarity with Palestine have been some of the most affirming and life-giving experiences I've had in the last 10 years.
They say without an attempt at bridging the divide, they worry hate will grow. The FBI is already tracking an increase in threats against Jews and Muslims.
Yeah, it's been a very busy couple weeks.
Sarah Ammons is with the Anti-Defamation League in Florida. She tells us anti-Semitic incidents have been surging even before the start of Israel declaring war on Hamas. In 2022, the FBI estimated there were over 1,100 anti-Jewish hate crimes, an increase of 36% from 2021.
What we do know nationally is that in the period between October 7th and October 18th, we've already seen a 54% increase in anti-Semitic incidents.
And the rise in hate crimes also affects Muslims. The Council on American Islamic Relations in Florida says each day they are getting a new report.
It's also about making sure that people don't base the acts of one over an entire group.
Omar Saleh is a civil rights managing attorney for CARE. He says people are being prejudiced towards members of the Islamic faith and lumping Palestinians and Arabs with terrorists.
We're getting several different calls. I guess the two main ones are from people being intimidated or even assaulted. We've received calls of vandalism.
The latest FBI data also shows anti-Muslim crimes were on the increase before this conflict broke out. 158 incidents, a 3% increase from 2021. But CARE says the number of cases they handle is higher.
You know, what's in our report, I think, is really an underestimation of the actual calls we get.
According to CARE, in 2022, the national number of cases related to incidents was 378. So why this increase? Some experts say it has to do with politics and the current economic climate.
A lot of where the issues that we're dealing with boils down to is misinformation.
Instead of feeling like you have to pick a team, this is not a baseball game, right? This is a very difficult situation.
And Morse believes working with Jews and Muslims is the answer to turning conflict into resolution.
Within living memory, Jews, Palestinians, Arabs lived together in the land that we call Israel-Palestine in peace, in harmony.
In Miami, I'm Jacqueline Quinn, CBS News, Miami.
When we come back, see why the Attorney General is taking aim at Meta.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back to our show. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. The story CBS Miami has been following very closely. Now, a Hialeah councilman is suing the city's mayor. Councilman Brian Calvo filed the lawsuit against Mayor Steve Bovo over the city's overburdened 911 call center. Calvo alleges Bovo interfered with his efforts to provide potential solutions to problems there. CBS News Miami's Ted Scouten explains.
What we're dealing with here is basically one city official suing another one. This all centers around this right here. These are alleged calls that were made to 911 that weren't answered. There's thousands of them.
This lawsuit today, I want to make it very clear, it's not about just me.
Hialeah City Commissioner Brian Calvo announcing he filed suit against Mayor Esteban Bovo, accusing him of hampering his ability to look into reported problems in the city's 911 call center.
These are line by line, day and time, every single 911 call, according to our city records, that was not answered.
Calvo said this shows more than 2,300 calls that went unanswered during a 2-year period. He said he got the documents from the city, but when he requested more, it came with a price tag.
The most notable one that's been in the news is the almost $7,000 that the mayor is trying to charge me in order to do my job, in order to get these documents.
He said the mayor also prevents him from introducing agenda items or speaking to city department heads and employees without permission.
We're asking a judge to intervene and delineate the powers of the mayor, the powers that I have as a council member to balance and check, essentially, the mayor.
At an unrelated event, we asked Mayor Bovo about the lawsuit.
We're going to let our attorneys react, and really I have no comment and won't participate in this circus.
Calvo said he hopes all this ends with fixing the problems at the Hialeah 911 call center.
The most important thing is that every single 911 call, every single call is answered.
The mayor has 20 days to respond to the lawsuit. Meanwhile, the council member is hoping to have a court hearing within the next 2 to 3 months. In Hialeah, Ted Scouten, CBS News Miami.
Florida's Attorney General Ashley Moody is taking aim at Meta. Moody, along with other attorneys general across the country, are suing the social media company over claims it intentionally addicts children and teens. Tonight, CBS News Miami's Joe Murray speaks to a psychiatrist about things parents can do right now to help their kids cope with this.
You think your child spends too much time online? We talked to Sasha Roldan and Michaela Dennis about how much time they are on social media. They're both 15 years old.
If it's not a school day, probably like from the morning to like late night, probably like 12 hours.
There, and it keeps me up to date on everything.
What some call the addictive nature of social media has policymakers pushing back. Florida now suing with other states to force Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, to allow kids to cut screen time. Attorney General Ashley Moody mentions in her lawsuit Broward County School District is suing Meta, saying there has been a surge of youth who say they cannot stop or control their anxiety, who feel so sad and hopeless they stop doing activities they used to love.
Delay the use of social media as long as possible.
It's one way psychiatrist Daniel Bober says parents can help kids who are spending too much time on social media.
Do you see improvement when kids just do a simple thing like limiting?
I do, and the number one thing I hear from kids is that social media makes me feel worse about myself.
At Meta, we are focused on building the future of human connection.
Meta says it has over 30 tools to support teens and families.
Like I scroll and somehow it knows everything that's going on in my life. And I'm like, how is this possible? But I'm just like, yeah, I relate to that and I always like it. And then it's more and more of that same topic. So it's like, you know, it kind of knows what I'm interested in.
Sasha and Michaela told me they don't think social media makes them feel any different, but they worry about younger kids.
Kids our age, we know what's right and what's wrong, but some little kids, they just see it and then they think that's right. So I don't feel like that's good.
And Dr. Bober tells me cutting your screen time from 30 minutes to an hour a day will have tremendous benefit for your mental health. In Fort Lauderdale, Joan Murray, CBS News, Miami.
When we come back, see how Miami International Airport is helping parents of children with special needs ease into the holiday travel season in a creative way. Stick around.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Elliot Rodriguez. Traveling during the holiday season can be overwhelming. And with the holidays right around the corner, Miami International Airport is bringing back its annual Readiness Tour. As CBS News Miami's Maribel Rodriguez explains, the tour aims to help families prepare for future travel with a unique experience.
This is huge for him. I think this is so far the best day of his life.
Marcel's mom, Barbara, tells us her son loves planes and for the first time is sitting in one.
What do you think? Is this amazing or what? This is amazing. It's amazing.
Not only is it amazing for Marcel, but also for the more than 24 children with special needs.
Our goal, obviously, is for anyone, regardless of their disability, to experience the magic and wonder of flight, and that's exactly what they're going to do today.
Since 2015, Miami International Airport has hosted the MIA Airport Instruction and Readiness Tour, where children with special abilities, along with the families or guardians, take a mock American Airlines flight, taking in the whole experience from checking in at the ticket counter, passing through security, which, as we know, can be stressful, then walking the terminal all the way to the gate.
Good morning for those passengers traveling with the MIA Air Tour, gate Delta 22. At this time, we're waiting for the crew members to arrive. We're going to have a 10:10 a.m. departure at our gate. Right outside, if you look through the glass, you're going to see the aircraft.
They then went from seeing the aircraft through the window to walking in and taking a seat, all safe and in a controlled environment.
Yeah, I think it's nice how they're giving this experience, to kids who have more challenged abilities and how they're showing that they can still live normal lives even with their challenged abilities. And I think it's very cool that they're doing this to help us.
A learning experience for all these families whose lives may now be ready to take flight.
And not only was this a great learning experience for the children and their families, but also for airline and TSA employees. Now, aside from these rehearsal tours, MIA also has 2 multi-sensory rooms for children with special needs. Maribel Rodriguez, CBS News, Miami.
Well, the spooky season is here. We're talking about Halloween, and some of South Florida's smallest patients are getting into the Halloween spirit. Babies in the NICU were decked out in adorable costumes. CBS News Miami photojournalist Adam Spunt takes a closer look at the spooktacular celebration.
So today we're celebrating Halloween early. NICU is a stressful environment for the parents and sometimes for the nurses as well. And this is a time for us to have fun, to kind of like unwind. We let the babies get dressed up.
We came down to Florida for vacation. We actually live in New York. And I went to the hospital with high blood pressure, and a week and a half later he was born. We're also dressed up for Halloween. So Jude is Max from Where the Wild Things Are. He's the king of all the wild things. My mom and dad actually made the little fur tail and matching fur hat with the crown on it.
She's a Little Mermaid. It was my favorite movie growing up as a kid, and she's a Keys baby. We're from Key West. It's just this is a lot of fun. This has been able to take away a lot of that stress and pressure, and just looking so forward to getting her home, but able to have her a part of it and a part of good memories for her too in the future.
I'm happy, I'm excited because I wanted to enjoy the moment with him while he's in here, have memories.
In the NICU you have your ups and downs, and so you got to celebrate where you can, and this is definitely a fun celebration.
No cuter outfits than those. And thanks for joining us this half hour. And headliners always, keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. Make it a great day.